Okay, so let's check this out. Just completed the Tilevania platformer on GameDevTV. Took about, oh my gosh, I think it was maybe 10 hours altogether. Or at least it was like 8 of like solid effort. And then maybe like probably a couple hours of just like trying things. Didn't work. Tried another thing. It worked. Tried to fix it a little bit better. Didn't work. So I left it. That would be swimming. In the GameDevTV course, they use water as a hazard. I figured, this is the kind of game would be kind of cool to have some swimming mechanics. It's kind of like Mario anyway. So I have this open, but I'm just going to go ahead and just jump right into the game instead. So this is my first level here. Oops. It's the big coin. Made you has 300 points instead of just the 100 the other coins have. So in the water here, I've made it that your jump is not so high, and that your walk is like half speed. So you can't jump up there, but you can like kind of do a double jump thing, which is the best thing I've got. It's like kind of old school Mario swimming. But you'll see once you get up here, well, there's like no way to get out without, well, I almost made it. And then the coins persist, and you'll find that the right way to go about that. You climb all the way up, get some more coins. You jump down here, then you start at the top. Pretty quick fall. I think the gravity might be a little too high. Messes with the camera a little bit. Might be able to make that jump actually. Camera just a little bit weird right there at the top there. Still not very good about the exact camera specs. Couple points. I died there. Didn't want those coins over here. Oh, I messed up. Oh, looks like the bullets collide with the coins. Nice little bug there. Camera zooms out on the ladder, which is really nice. So you can't shoot him across since those collide. And then that might be a one-line kind of fix. Maybe we can go in the code and fix that real quick. This jump is pretty risky. But you gotta risk it all for the coins. I won't do it since I'm about to die. I'll go this slow instead. Let's get a lot of coins going that way though. Maybe I can come back around. So when you hit the end of the third level, you just start over. And the world will persist if you haven't died, so. So the camera messes up there too. Can't exactly figure out why. But I haven't really looked at it for too long either. Oh, all the coins reset, that's good. That's what kind of the idea that I wanted to have about it anyway. I didn't think that worked the first time I tried it. Maybe I inadvertently fixed that problem. racking up quite the score over there. See if I can't just get to the part that I missed before and give it a good try. Oh, I am using my mouse and keyboard right now, and the reason why. Give it a second. Oh, I did. You gotta go through the wall there. That's okay. You go through the wall there too, for some reason. Okay, that's not great. Whoa! Lucky collision on that. Don't mind them changing size, that's just a bug. Okay, and dead. Alright, and real quick, this is what is wrong with the jump. Whenever you use the controller for some reason, you jump super high. I don't know why that is. It's ridiculous. So the game kind of breaks if you use a controller, which is unfortunate because it feels really good to use a controller. It's crazy, you jump so high. Jump into spacebar. That's your spacebar jump. That was in the water. That's your spacebar jump. That's the controller's X button jump. It's wild. And we'll zoom out to our level. Not too deep in here yet, just try to get it zoomed out to the level. And you can see here, real quick, what the exit actually is this little thing here. Prefab. Try to open this sprite renderer. Exit. There it is. It's not the prefab that's invisible, it's the instance. So that's what it actually is here. The big coins right on top of it. But you can turn it off in the sprite renderer, making it invisible, but still have the collision trigger. And you can see that it's still there with the mounting box for the collider. And we'll start there since that's where I'm at, is the level select script. We'll go to scripts. Or level exit script. So this one doesn't have a start or anything. Doesn't have a run, update, anything like that. This adds a load delay to our exit. Level load delay is 1 second, so when you hit it, it just waits 1 second. Load delay, which is called here, wait for seconds real time. That happens when we load next level. Load next level happens on trigger enter to the other, and then that trigger is actually called here. This bounding box is a trigger. So if that wasn't turned on, that would be a solid object that you'd stand on. And then it only works if the player touches it. So like not a bullet, not a whoever enemy. And then just loads next level, which runs this whole block here. Does our delay, like I said, for 1 second. Sets the next scene to the current scene +1. That's all you really need to know here. Pretty typical kind of coding that you'd see in almost any kind of like enumerator kind of object. And then just find the type of the scene persist, which is, I think, part of scene management. But anyway, just loads the next scene. easy as that. And then if it's not got scene, if we can't find a scene, right here, then it just sets it to 0, which is the scene index. In our build settings, scene index 0, 1, 2. And so if we turn that on, it would still function the same. You just would be able to see it, which I didn't want to be able to see it. I just put it in a spot where you could not miss it. And we'll just jump through a couple more of these. The player movement script is really the main crux here of everything. Rocket is something I was working on, didn't end up working. We'll jump into the bullet script. So we have bullet speed under bullet. And we'll have to actually open it as a prefab. So bullet. So we have bullet speed down here. We can set it to whatever we want. I have it set to 15. Seems to work just fine. It gets the object, gets the movement of the player. And sets those to local variables. Calculates what bullet speed should be based on the player's local scale. So like if it should be negative or positive. That's a quick way to just determine absolute value. Positive and negative without absolute value, actually. And sets your speed of the bullet as it's created. So basically it creates an instance of the bullet every time. And if it collides with the enemy, destroy the enemy, and always destroy the game object. Or just destroy the enemy and the game object. If it collides with literally anything, collision, destroy the game object. So these are called no matter what. Easy enough for the bullet. And let's see. Scene persist, basically anything under the scene persist empty prefab is coins or enemies. If you kill one, you collect one, they should stay gone until you reset the game. So that's what happens here. On awake, which is a built-in Unity function. Now scene persist, scene persist, which is this is so that's that's what this is. So it's a type of scene persist, and it finds the length of how many scenes, just like we did before with the level exit. And then just make sure to either destroy the game object if it becomes more than there's one of them, and if it loads for the first time, it does not destroy the game object. And then just reset. Scene persist can be called anywhere because it's a public class, public void method, and you can just destroy the game object at any time if it needs to be done. And let's just see if that is called anywhere. I can't seem to figure that out. It should be Control-Shift-F, maybe? Yeah. So it's in persist. So level exit calls reset scene persist. Yep. So it finds that same object and then calls that public method in the load next level, as well as game session seems to void reset game session, which is a local method, or game session. Game session might be the only one that Alexa calls it too. That's weird. Anyway, game session finds persist, loads the scene, and destroys the game object as well. Okay, so we had pickup, coin pickup, level exit, scene persist. Now let's move into game session. That's where our lives, our score, the text for the live score, looks like it just does the same creation method for our scene persist here. The game session. So if there can only be one game session and one scene persist. So if there's more than one, to destroy the current object and then place it. And so on start, text is set onto the screen as these numbers here, 3 and 0. Let's find out where that's at. It's gonna be player movement, honestly. Let's see. Take a life is also gonna be it's in game session. Player lives minus minus, then reprint the text, and then scene. Okay, so it just restarts that scene index. So current scene index, just reload that the same level that you died on. Easy enough. Sometimes you just gotta look at it. So take a life. So process player death. You basically, if the player lives is greater than 1, take a life, else reset game session, which is right here. And then reset scene persist, load scene, destroy game object. And then add to score, points to add. So points to add is included, so let's find what this is called. Coin pickup. That would be passed in as add to score, points for pickup. This is a serialized field. We got a coin pickup, our prefab object for coin. Points for coin pickup, 100 right here. You can change that to any value. And it would go in here. Add to score, points for coin pickup. This would get overwritten. It starts at 100, but that's the default value. So you could, if you set it to that 500, or whatever it is, 1000, it would override anything in here. Pretty cool. And going down. Basically the way that works is just current score, which is sitting at 0, plus the points to add, which is 100, and then reprint the text. And I think finally, player movement. Big one. So now that you've seen like how these serialized fields work, you can guess player has a bunch of them. Player movement, so run speed, water, jump speed, climb speed, death kick, which direction it sends you on death, but reload the scene too quickly for that to matter. What the bullet is supposed to be, so if I change that to the rocket, it would change that to the, well, I have the rocket set, but, you know, if I change that bullet prefab to this little rocket prefab, which is stretched the wrong direction currently, it would. Yeah. It would change into that purple thing instead of the orange bullet we were using. And then the gun is just literally a transform on the player. Zoom way into it. It's right on his hand. It's just a prefab. There's like no, I think it's an empty even. It just has like no collision or anything on it. It's literally a spawn point. So here, seat gun, rocket bullet, your game objects, vector 2s, transform, floats, and there's a couple that are not serialized, like move input accepts the, where is it? The player input right here. So it's the Tilevania asset. So this thing right here, this is the Tilevania input actions that it's calling from. So it finds the move input down here. A couple times. And my rigid body, same kind of thing. Player, Now let me see this. So like on move, you know, WASDs, look, right gamepad, fire, right trigger, jump, space. That's pretty much the kind of things you'd expect in there. And then on my rigid body player, so he has a couple of colliders. Rigid body 2D, which is a dynamic. No friction is my material. So that just literally has 0 friction, 0 bounciness. Massive 1, I figured that was the easiest. Gravity scales 8, seemed right, and it's a little bit heavy probably. Freeze rotation can never fall over to the right or left. And Capsule Collider, also I gave it the no friction, just in case there was any kind of issues with the walls. Kind of stick to walls sometimes. Nothing really more there. And the box 2D collider as well. So this is a bounding box on my feet. So it's like, actually I called up my feet collider. And it, what does it do? It basically is for jumping. Pretty much for jumping. So animator as well. It's right here, the animator itself for player. Is open right here. Is running. Is climbing, dying, swimming. Is I think these will work. So if I press on one, alright, they're actually controlled by code. So you can just kill the player real quick. So, but yeah, they're controlled by code, so you can't like actually toggle except for death. You can see it's idling. So whenever I move to the left or right, it's changing it to running. And then if I go over here to the ladder, it switches to climbing. So that's how the animations work, and they through this animator. My animator doesn't really. Here it is. Basically, in like the run method for like the running action, or the climb method for the climbing. At the very end, whenever you finally get the logic sorted out, you just call the set bool is running, and you set it to your bool, which you figured out through some logic up here. Pretty simple. At the end of it, it's kind of hard to place all the values up front. Like, you know, you'll start with just one, and then make a thing, and then I'll come back and add 2 more, 3 more. Make the update function work. Just keep adding to it. And so during the update function, all it's doing, the player movement, is if it's dead, just exit. Like, don't let the player do anything. If he's not dead, run, which is here. Do all this stuff is running. Flip sprite. If player's absolute value is greater than 0, then the player is moving. And then if player has negative velocity, scale it by -1, and it does a 180-degree flip. It's like a math trick. And then climb ladder. Basically, my feet collider, like I was saying, is touching layers in the layer mask of climbing, which I'll show you some of these climbing layers real quick as well. And basically just sets and bools as climbing. And there's even a trigger for death kick, but it doesn't actually happen because process player death sends it to the death screen, like the restart screen, too quick. And like I said, the map itself, platforms tile map, is what that was talking about, I'm pretty sure. Feet collider. one jump is touching layer mask of ground. So layer mask ground. These are my layers here. Ground, climbing, player, background, enemies, hazards, bullets, interactables. And the platform's tile map is on layer ground. It's actually not tagged to anything. Doesn't need to be tagged to anything. But it is on the sorting layer. And so it's visible to the player. And the same kind of layer. So we've got black background, water, platforms, climbing, hazards, interactables, enemies, player. But if I move one of these up and down, like you can't see the player anymore. So if I push play, he's invisible because he's actually behind the background. And that's what those sorting layers do. Oops. I've not messed everything up. Okay. So, I think I've fixed that problem. Yes. And now you've seen this in over here. Obviously, it's just the tile map. Everyone knows, like, at least what a sprite sheet looks like. But you don't have to sit here and click, oh, I want that one. I want to place it here. And then I want that one. And I want to place it here. No, you don't gotta do that. It's the days of that are gone behind us. So long as we have everything set up on separate tile map layers, platforms, backgrounds, water, climbing, bouncing, hazards, well, our platform tile map will just interact with this rule tile down here. That's why it's separated from the bunch. This rule tile has a system set up in it. If I go down to it, it's going to be a where's my rule tile? I can't find it. Here it is, rule tile. Where was it? In sprites. Okay, it's actually in sprites. Not a great place for it, so I want that in prefabs. Okay, so this one's a doozy. So, the GameDevTV guys have an image that helps set up this kind of stuff. Oh my gosh, it's a doozy. So basically, it says like how this stuff should be spaced together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out of here for 1 second and duplicate that to a level 4. Load it up. Zoom out. I'm going to show you how these tiles work a little bit. We're going to delete all this stuff. So I get a big old chunker here, hit the erase button. Just like paint. Delete the background tile map and the water tile map. Climbing. I don't think there's any climbing on here. Bouncing, I don't know if there's bouncing. There should be because there's spikes on the ceiling. And hazards. And then the rest is objects. So we can go in here, not that. Sync persist pickups. Delete all these. And enemies. Delete all those. Now we're left with nothing. So I'll take this. I know it's my bit of background layer. Take this. I have the grid lines turned off because it's just easier to see on camera. Can go in here. Can make a big square. Rectangle's fine. And maybe I'll just put a few more down here. Go down to the water. Put some water in there. Go to the platform. Grab my rule tile that has those rules set up for how it should interact and which blocks it should choose per corner or per ledge, or if it's in the middle of a bunch of blocks here, if it's on its own. if it has a block to the right or a block to the top, if it doesn't have blocks to the left or right. So we're going to zoom way in. And if I just click on it, it's just that block. This block next to it turns into 2. Go further and further, and it just writes itself. The rule tile knows how to behave given a set of instructions. So if I just create more and more, it just becomes different objects as time goes on. And it allows you not to have to think about it so much. And if you needed to change anything, there should be like a noise. Yeah, so you can like change. Say I didn't want this one. Oh, because it has to be a random. So it has to be a random object to have noise. And it'll just choose from like a different seed of random. Okay. It might do something based on frequency as well. So, you know, if you I mean, I kind of like that. Kind of weird how it's like all in the middle right now. I'm gonna put that back to 0.5 and see what happens. It's a little bit less jacked up. But yeah, that's how the roll tile works. Real, pretty, like, just like maybe the really most coolest thing about this whole situation. And then the climbing tile. So climbing, make a ladder all the way up, because we're inevitably going to fall over there. And then we can just play our scene, just like that. And you'll notice that the camera's destroyed. So I haven't done a bounding box collider. This. Did not mean to do that. For this tile map platform, tile map collider. Where's it? Rigid body? No. Is it background? It's background. Okay, so that is what the camera sees, which is obviously not right. So we'll drag that up. Drag it over. Can't seem to get that. What's going on? There we go. Oh, it's really far over there. Oh, I've made a mess of things. Okay. We're going places. Oh, look at that. Okay. Let's see if it's even good. Let's just press right to see what happens. Hey, it worked. Yeah, so the functions are still there with the virtual camera, which I'll show you next. It's a lot of moving parts, but it's that easy to get in there and use the system. Yeah, so if you go to cameras, we've got a main camera, which is pretty much not used, and then the stage-driven camera. Stage-driven camera follows the player and animates with the player target, and it uses 4 cameras. Oh, what's this? 3 cameras. One's supposed to be water and it doesn't exist. So run, to switch to the run camera it takes 2 seconds, switch to idle camera it takes 1.5 seconds, switch to climb camera it takes 0.5 seconds. And then whenever it switches to running, it waits 1 second before easing into that transition. And each of those cameras has a different lens, is what you would call it. Let's see if I can't get this to solo. So like you can zoom really far in with how this lens ortho works, and then the idle camera solo. I think I messed it up. Okay. Yeah. So run camera. I can't remember what it was. 5. Okay. No. 8. Okay, there we go. Had to control Z a couple times. And then the water camera's not in use. I wanted it to get like really close to the player in the water, and it just kind of didn't work out. Cloud camera, I could take that down to like 5. And these are changing per scene, by the way. So like if I change it here, it doesn't change in level 1. Make it zoom really close into the player whenever he's idled. And kind of farther out whenever he's just sitting there. Since we have like a very small level here. So yeah, that's how the cameras work. Easy enough. The only thing left is the audio, which is just play a sound at the position. It's controlled in here. It's attached to the coin itself, which I don't have any in here. But if I wanted to make one, just drag it into level. And the way I'm doing this to make it nice and 20, I think is what I was using, like an offset of 0.5. And let's do 1. And it should, if I duplicate this, snap. So I forgot it somehow. I think this is the grid I think I was using. So I was just Shift D, or sorry, Control D, move. And it creates them underneath this screen persist. Oh, no, it doesn't. Because I was messed up. I dragged it in not in the right place, so now if I start Control D, every one of them is going to be in that scene persist empty. And so if I, end up dying, they will persist. So if I go to prefabs, nope, it's going to be a regular spike on the hazard style. So if I put a spike in here, go in here, get some coins, and then hit the spike. I restart the level. The coins are still there, still have 4, and now I'm back to level 1 because it's still part of it. Since that's still level 4, I have to go back to level 0 when I die all my lives. Pretty cool. Pretty cool, honestly. This took like I said, 8 solid hours of effort. 2 probably hours of playing around. And there's always a couple hours of procrastination in there, a couple hours for sleep. I actually did this over 2 days, so I spent about an hour and a half, just poking around the Unity docs and watching the first couple of setup tutorials, like just seeing what I'm getting myself into. Getting the sprites imported into the project. I did a couple hours of that, which I don't really include as part of like the project time itself, but I would say no more than like 10-11 hours were spent on this particular project, which is cool because even though I was verbatim like writing text, following a pointer that a person is like doing on his screen, onto my screen, it was done well enough to where I can then go show you what I've done and hopefully not scare you off with all that code I showed up front. Yeah, it's kind of like that's the learning curve, I guess, is probably the code, because once you get in here, this is fun. Like making a level like this, like, oh, just drag a big coin in real quick, put it right there, that'll be fine, just test my levels real quick, add to my score. That's the fun part. I think, making levels might be more fun than playing some levels I've seen in the past. So Bitcoin and Bitcoin were not in there. If you notice, they weren't persisting, but now they will. So I've done, I think 3. Yeah, there was the really basic tutorial. I don't even remember what it was now. The very first one, the really basic one. And then there was the snowboarder tutorial. And then there was the UI, which like prepares you for that text you're seeing pop up here. Like you don't see it on the game window, but then all of a sudden you see it and it's stretched 16 by 9. And you know, that's using the UI canvas, which I haven't even talked about. The UI canvas is very easy to overlook. It's not a part of the game, but it is a part of the level. Let's just go back. I don't know. Yeah, canvas. So it's what's called a text mesh pro object, which is just to bring in a font. Like if you go get your regular old font file, right? Bring that in. Then you have to go to this whole thing, create an asset from it, and then it's going to like wrap it on a mesh, is what it ends up doing. So it wraps that text to a mesh as a material, and then you can just put it in your world as like a easily updatable mesh. Like all the text is there, and you can write text to it, but it appears in your world as like a screen on a screen, basically. Like this canvas here is a plane. It's way bigger than the window. But that's okay because it's actually 16 by 9. Whereas this, like, there's a disconnect. Like what you see in the game window and what you see on the canvas UI are actually overlaid. So that may be why I waited to show till last, but you just set that to 1920 by 1080, whatever your resolution desired output is. And then you can start putting objects on it. So like this is text in like a small space. And then this is also text over here, just like a placeholder text that gets overwritten immediately whenever the scoreboard gets called. I can't remember where it's at. Yes, right here. Whenever score gets called 0, player life gets called 3. On wake, the lives.text gets set to the string that we called. So on start, like you just don't ever even see the 9999s. That's basically it. By the way, this was on HumbleBundle. You still have like 10 days left to get this, and you should. This was $25, and I've had more fun with this than most $25 games I've gotten. And it's really easy to follow. You don't really have to have any experience, in my opinion. It will help you to have some programming experience. And you're going to want to dive deeper into the programming side if you have no experience. But yeah, if you're wanting to make games, this is how you do it. This guy's going to teach you how to do it. His name is Rick. So this course here, or this bundle of courses is available on HumbleBundle right now for the next 10 days. Get Unity 3D, Unity Mobile, Unity 2D, Unity Multiplayer Intermediate Coding and Networking, and some skill builder stuff. Season 1 and 2, I believe. Looks like maybe just Season 2. That's fine. Probably only need Season 2, honestly. Skills change over time. An asset bundle and a sound effects bundle. And whatever this is. Looks like I've got 2 of them. Oh. Okay. Then pay what you want. Pay at least $25 for all 13. Take it down to 25 and check it out. If you're still not convinced, I would say Mike from Games from Scratch on YouTube will be your guy. So go to Games from Scratch. Check out a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. Yeah, 1 week ago, his video.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Game from.
That's the one to check out. It's gonna go through all of the stuff that I just went over, but in a more broad sense.
Older courses there.
Okay. Peace. Okay, so I'm going through this tutorial and I found a little bug with the shooting. You just stack these. They don't push off the screen. You just stack them up. They have their own physics. They're not affected by gravity right now because they're supposed to be bullets and they're supposed to disappear. But I can just stack them up to like 1,000. And